I could share that. I want, because I almost forgot. And I remembered at the last, and I was like, take pictures of this. Because I swear she's had bottles since she was like, since early on, since she was maybe like 2.5 months, 3 months, and didn't really have a problem. We started off with Dr. Brown's, the Preemie Flow for, because that's the best recommended for breastfeeding to make sure it's not, an issue. And then I switched her at about 4 or 5 months to Comotomo, and she was doing fine. She had like not big issues. She took it when it was given to her.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, she just was refusing bottles. Like, just, she wouldn't latch onto it. She wouldn't take it. And so I was just kind of like at a stuck place because no one else could feed her anymore.
Right.
And so then I was like, I don't even know if she's going to take this bottle. We're just going to try it. And I swear to you, I gave it to her. She kind of looked, did a few sucks, and then just immediately drained the bottle. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And that was like a huge thing for me. I was like, what? Oh my God.
Oh my God, what a relief. Because I'm just looking through like your baseline form, and it looks like you put down it was taking her like up to 3 minutes to get a latch from like a Comotomo bottle, right?
I would have to just keep giving it to her because she's had latching issues since birth. That was our biggest struggle for nursing, is that I would have to, she shallow latched from day one. I would have to keep starting over. Like, luckily, with my experience, I knew that and recognized it immediately in the hospital. Like, right. Even the lactation consultant was like, oh, well, you seem to know everything you need to know. You seem good, because I kept relatching her. And that's just always been a struggle. It took until she was about 4.5 months for me to stop having to relatch her like 3 to 5 times every feeding.
Oh my God.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
You even, like, on your 1 to 10 scale of how would you rank your latching frustrations, you put it at like an 8 out of 10. So like, how long was that taking you with every feed?
5 minutes of the time, plus I'm starting her over because she got frustrated a lot because she couldn't get the milk like she wanted to. But the reason she would shallow latch is because I was, fortunate to have a great supply, great letdown. The minute she was sucking, like 9 times out of 10, my boobs were waiting for her. Like, she was not trying hard to get milk. So she would latch on and the milk would just come. So she would shallow latch to slow it down so she could do more control, because she actually had like a lot of reflux. It ended up being borderline like silent reflux issues. It was really bad. Yeah. We had like almost all the issues you could think of. We had them.
Oh God.
So she ended up having to get on medicine for reflux. I tried everything else to avoid that, but she was having episodes to where it was like she was getting these secretions and kind of gagging on it, just the stuff trying to come up. And she didn't have normal reflux where, the babies just spit up a lot. Yeah. Her esophagus couldn't send it all the way up. So she'd sit there, you'd hear it look in her throat. Oh, and that's God. What would create the secretions. Yeah. So she'd wake up kind of like gagging on, the things trying to like come up. It was a lot. And so, and I don't think the fast flow helped with that. So she would shallow latch to slow it down because she choked all the time.
So she was smart. She was like modifying, like her feeding technique to try to like, alleviate this problem.
Right. But it also didn't let her get enough milk, so it was like a catch-22.
Yeah.
So, because that's tiring to have to do that. So she'd conk out. It was a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It sounds like it. Was she a preemie or was she born?
No, she was born 39.5.
How much did she weigh?
6 pounds. I don't know. That sounds bad, but 6 pounds, like, I don't know, 11 ounces, something like that. She was great. She was healthy, weighed a great amount. She's right where she needed to be. She was kind of small, she's super tiny. She's 9 months now and still fits a 6-month clothes. So
yeah.
Yeah, she was in newborn till 4 months.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it sounds like what you're describing, like from all the research that I've done, it's like the reverse nipple confusion, right? Where like you can't get, so you're not having a trouble getting her to latch to breast, like you've got that down, right? And you guys are still,
Now.
yeah.
And now, like, little things, she also has like a little lip tie.
Mm,
And I think that that also added to it. I did not have it lasered or anything like that because we did figure, like, right when I was like getting to my wits end, we kind of crossed a threshold of like the silver lining, you know what I mean? So yeah, it ended up being good. Like it worked itself out. But like now those like shallow latching, all that is representing itself, you know, like it's showing up. I'm having to relatch her a little bit. I'm like, you know, she gets on, it hurts. So I'm like, hold on, let's relatch.
yeah.
Only have to do it like once. It's a good one, but she's kind of going backwards a little bit. But also then now she has two teeth. So it's just she's adjusting and learning how to, you know, eat in a different way. But she does, I mean, she does pretty good. So
Well, the biggest goal was just to really address like what you described in terms of latching frustration and that time to get a latch and just give you the freedom to put pump milk in a bottle because I'm not sure what your working situation is. It's a little different with, COVID now, but like most women would drop off breastfeeding around 3 months, like when they introduce a standard bottle
mm-hmm.
and go back to work. So I'm just so happy. Like whenever you were sending your feedback that was like unbiased and unprompted, I was like crying actually, because after
Aw.
scanning so many women, like actually really measuring lactation averages, because I was like shook when I saw that nobody had ever done that and like use that as a benchmark for creating
Right.
a bottle.
It
So
was brilliant. And so as soon as I ran across y'all's, I don't even remember how I ran across y'all's page, but I ran across it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's literally brilliant. Like with doing newborn care, I work with a lot of new moms and which, so like, number one, it's a big deal that I put out that I thought it was great. Not because if even just because y'all let me be like, you know, the first, you know, in your, beta testers and all that, if I didn't like it, I won't promote it because a lot of moms follow me, you know, like locally and turn to me for those type of recommendations. So I'm not going to put out something just because. So for me to let people on my page now, I mean, I know I'm not like a big follower or anything, but locally it's like that.
yeah, you're
You
like,
know, so I wouldn't put it there. And like I have a lot of mom friends, I have a lot of mom clients, all those type of things. So I wouldn't have put it there unless I really felt that way. um but yeah, so that was number one. But when I did that, when I first saw it, I was like, that's brilliant. And how she just latched right on, and I could tell she was feeling it out the first couple sucks. She even let it come out a little bit, and I just gave it to her again, and she went to town as if that was like normal for her. And how you guys match flow on a smaller range, I absolutely love that because I could tell this flow for her really matches what she's used to because she got immediately comfortable.
yeah,
Like she just sat back after I gave it back to her and just drank. As you can see, I was able to get pictures. So that said a
yeah.
big deal. And I was like, that's the most brilliant thing on earth. Like if a lot of the moms in the past hadn't had so much trouble, you know, even my current client right now is like, they've gone through like 3 different bottles and their son had so many issues. And I'm like, what if this had been around from the beginning of their struggles? It might wouldn't have been so bad, you know?
Yeah, oh my god, that really, oh my gosh, that makes my heart so happy that it's made your feeding journey just that much easier. And yeah, that was really what I was seeing. So like my research started like looking at the gut microbiome of preterm infants. And so I was really like trying to figure out how to prevent fatalities in the NICU from an imbalance of gut bacteria. And when I
Mm.
realized like the one thing we can actually control as clinicians is increasing like the amount of time and the amount of breast milk those babies get, I would like, that's where the idea started. I was like, what's actually happening with NICU babies bedside that I'm not aware of that's preventing them from being able to like latch and breastfeed like they need to later on. And
Mhm.
that's when like all the study, like I compiled all the analysis, not just my own research, but other scientists who looked at the flow rates of standard bottles. And I was just like, how in the world has this industry like not been disrupted? It was like one of those things where, everyone tells you like, oh, I'm sure it's been done. Like, you have an idea and you're like, oh, it must exist. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is still like the primary problem for women, like when they're going back to work too. So clearly there's not a working solution. And the CEOs of, you know, Timmy and Komotomo are men. Like it's not really in their best interest
Mm-hmm.
to spend a ton of money on R&D and revamp this 33-cent nipple, so like
Right.
they're just like had never been pressure, I guess, in the market before. So I totally agree with what you're saying. Like that's really what had like kept me going was all those testimonials from moms like just struggling, like getting baby to latch or like not being able to get the baby to latch back on after just because the milk flow was so fast from another bottle that the baby got used to that and then just didn't have the patience for feeding, which I mean, if you're
Mm-hmm.
exhausted,
It's a huge thing.
yeah, if you're exhausted and you haven't slept, are you kidding me? Like, of course you're gonna eventually succumb and just probably transition all the way over to strictly bottle feeding, and then your milk flow slows because you don't have
Mm-hmm.
that skin to skin contact and the oxytocin. So, I'm just like absolutely overjoyed to hear it's helping for you, and I just want to
Yeah, because I had stopped pumping, so this made me want to um okay, like I'll pump again now because you can actually, now her dad can actually feed her again, Now she can sit with her grandma, you know what I mean? So that was just like a relief of like, because I'm like, it's no point in me sitting here pumping all this milk that she's not gonna drink, you know?
yeah. And the
So
fact that like you can involve family too is so important. Like that was something I wasn't aware of until like starting this research with dads too. I had a dad tell me like I have feed envy. I just want to be able to like help my wife, in the middle of the night and like
and it's
bond.
still yeah, like it's still bonding.
Yeah.
Eating is bonding, like they still look in your eyes, they hold your hands, they do all kind of things, and just to not, and I feel like a lot of bondings, I don't know, I feel it, people sometimes feel a type of way when I say this, but just the same way that animals can recognize a certain bond when there's like, this is the person that feeds me, like so
Yeah.
can babies, to know that they can have that moment and like, oh, this is a person that feeds me too. Like you can see that recognition and how they go back and get very comfortable, and then it just becomes something that's like a special thing. And
Yeah.
when you have, breastfed babies, it's like it had become such a dramatic, don't, like how they say, don't ever give your baby a bottle earlier than 2 months. Like it shouldn't be that way. That's
Yeah.
a bond that should be able to effortlessly flow back and forth. And so,
Absolutely.
I mean, I love this. I think this is really great. Like that, I everything, the more and more I read about it, I was like, this is kind of like that game changer that,
I'm so glad to hear it.
yeah.
And like you're totally right. You hit the nail on the head too in terms of that being a real bonding experience because like it actually helps with neurological development the more that a baby's held, as well as actually microbiome. So like the baby picks up beneficial bacteria from dad or from a family member, and it's really important in those first 3 years for them to be exposed to actually like as much skin to skin as possible because that's like laying the foundation for the kind of bacteria that moving forward in life actually influence immune function. So like you want them to have those kinds of microbes that are diverse, that's like predictive of a healthier gut and actually like being able to produce the array of antibodies. And so I think that is crucial, especially like now during COVID. I think it's a little different in Texas, but like if people are just becoming totally sterile and staying inside and like babies don't get to play in the dirt, or like get to see other family members, like it's really important that we are continuing to diversify like the gut bacteria. So
Hmm.
you addressed a really important topic with that. And I just want to know, like, I don't want to take up too much of your time on a Saturday. Is there anything that you need specific support with right now? Because we have a triage form that like goes through a full health assessment. It takes like 30
I
minutes.
finished most of it, but
Yeah.
there's some things that don't apply to me, and there's not an option like to say NA. So it makes you
Oh,
click something. So it's like it won't let it submit to you guys because there's not an option that says this does not apply to me. Like this is not,
oh,
so that's the only thing I was gonna say. It's like it's literally there and almost done. It just I can't submit it because I mean I would be clicking something that's not that I don't have or I don't deal with. So there, I would just say add a little part that's like, if none of like on those backgrounds, like, do you have background with these cardiovascular issues?
just
At the
have the
bottom,
NA option.
have one that says no or NA, not applicable to me, whatever, so that it'll let you progress through because I can go through it. I basically finished. I answered all the ones that applied to me, but when I tried to submit it, it said, oh, you need to go back and answer these.
Oh, okay.
But
Thank you
then
so much
none
for
of
that
them,
feedback.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
no problem.
I'll definitely fix that. Okay, then I could just run through really quick, like a 3-minute questionnaire, and honestly,
Yeah.
give me your totally unbiased. Like, I know, like, it's really important to you to be raw, like you said, like with your community, because I just want to know if there's any aspects that we can improve on the bottle before we actually go to launch. So I know on a scale of 1 to 10, you mentioned um 8 out of 10 was your prior frustration with latching, and you had tried Dr. Brown's as well as Komotomo. So, how would you say now, on a scale of 1 to 10, you would rank your latching frustration after introducing the natural nipple?
I'd say probably like maybe a 4 or 5. Uh, you could just put it at a 4 because you know.
Sorry, Brooklyn, my
There
internet
we go. There
is
it came
so
back.
bad. I'm getting faster Wi-Fi.
It's okay.
You said
No worries at all.
probably a 4, and then you cut
I
off.
say like a 4 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say like a 4 because I think we'll always struggle, like her and I, a little bit as her mouth matures. But I mean, I gave her that bottle. She took it a first time and a second time. So that has made me far less concerned because she hasn't, I think starting around like 7, 8 months, she had just stopped wanting to take a bottle, period. So yeah, for
Good,
her to
good.
just take it immediately and latch on, like I'm not as concerned anymore.
Awesome. So when you say immediate, it was like 1 minute or less with the
Yes.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's so good to hear. And then did you have pre-existing latching pain with her latching to your breast?
Sorry. Did I have latching pain?
Yeah, prior to using the natural nipple, like was she biting your breast a lot?
Um, she had started again to have more pain. And it for me latching on, which is why was having to start relatching her again. And I mean, we used that when we used the natural nipple, she fully flanged out, which was probably the first time she had ever done that on a bottle. I usually have to twist it, adjust it to make her mouth open up properly. She latched right on. Um, and I mean, I hadn't really thought about whether she had done a little better on me as much, but I mean, if I'm thinking about it, I'm not having to relatch her as much. It's like a every other maybe now
Okay.
versus it had for like 2 weeks. It was like every time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So there's some improvement there. Awesome. Well, anything in terms of feedback, like just even with the design of the bottle, you just like let me know if there's anything you think that can be improved. And then also we're going to be adding, because like a lot of new moms were saying they just were kind of concerned if they were feeding their baby the right amount. So down the line, I'm actually planning to develop a sensor to the side of it. Sorry, my boyfriend just got home. So it will actually track the volume of the feed to an app. So you can actually get a score, like a little green check that says like, yep, for age norm, like this is the. Hey, can you hear me, Brooklyn?
Okay. Okay. Yes, I don't know what happened.
I'm so sorry. Hey, Rain.
Say hi. I just woke up and apparently I'm not happy about it.
Oh, okay. I won't keep you. The last thing I was just saying is adding a sensor that times feeds and tracks feeds, and then also
Right.
giving moms the option to see how their baby's microbiome is changing. So I don't know if you think that that is helpful or useful with you personally or your clients, but I'd like to
I
know.
will say that as far as quantity, a lot of moms tend to obsess over that unnecessarily,
Yeah,
because a baby will eat until they're full. When they don't want more, they don't want more. Like if I didn't know any better, like from my experience, I probably would have been freaking out over how much she eats, because she could take her to live. Personally, just from my experience of working with new moms, I feel like that could potentially add extra anxiety to the is my baby at eating enough.
yeah. If they got like a not normal score or something.
Like, and it's just that may be normal for that baby.
Yeah,
Like every baby is different. And I know that's just something that a lot of moms have really, really high anxiety over.
yeah,
And like I said, it would be different if it was a real, super normal out there, but it's just generalized. Like for my current nanny client, the boy is 3 weeks behind Rain. He's 3 weeks younger than Rain. He
mhm,
can take down a 6-ounce plus bottle of breast milk.
yeah,
Rain, 3 to 4 ounces tops,
per feed,
period.
yeah,
And she's perfectly along her growth chart. She has always steadily risen, and just, and also the fat content in breast milk changes so much that it's just not realistic for that the normal, because right then the mom's body might be communicating that the baby needs more fat, so the
yeah.
fat content could increase, which could even cause the baby to slow down in eating. So
Okay.
I would think that a sensor it's just not accurate enough to make it what it could do, which is add that extra anxiety a little bit.
Right. And like that's such good feedback because the whole goal, like 77% of new moms were saying like exactly like you said, there's just unnecessary fear around like that question of volume. And so the goal of it was
Yeah.
really to provide like that reassurance essentially. But that's something that the telehealth support that comes with the bottle actually can do. Like just speaking to someone like you, like just like saying,
Mm-hmm.
your body is dynamic. And it's amazing, like your breast ducts can actually sense as well, like there's communication between the baby's saliva and the antibodies
Exactly.
that you produce too, so that would alter the volume. So that's great feedback. Thank you so much, Brooklyn. And
No
don't
problem.
hesitate.
It's something that little things like that we forget of, like, and I've even told it to him. I'm like, well, let's pump your milk and sit it out. And I'm like, look at how much fat is at the top of the milk. Like your baby just might not need that much right now. And that's okay. There's not, that doesn't mean something's wrong.
Yeah,
It's something that in my newborn work with moms that are high on hormones and all that, I've had to reassure so many times. And I find that sometimes it makes something like that's like, because even there was another thing that tracks swallows or something, and I've noticed it causes slightly more anxiety than less.
yeah,
Like it takes so much time to perfect something like that. Like even like the owlet, always randomly triggered unnecessarily, which caused so many parents initially more stress than, relief. And it
Yeah,
took them 3 or 4 different tries to get to the part where it was accurate enough to not stress parents out. And
right.
I'm like, so that makes the talking about it 50-50, like where it's like, this isn't always advertised as such a great thing. And especially for something as innovative as this, that could actually be like the game changer in this, I would say hold off on that for a while, because this bottle could do so much good as is alone, from just like latch matching the way you guys do, shortening the span in between. Like, instead of doing, this is a 0 to 6 months bottle, this is a 0 to 3 month bottle, this is a I think that's incredible. And I think
Yeah,
doing something like that could narrow down the amount of actual success if people are saying, what always made me think that, my baby wasn't getting as much as they should, when that baby was getting enough for that baby.
right. That's such
So
good
I would
feedback.
highly take that into consideration.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you so much, Brooklyn. Yeah, I was like, these options are so confusing as a new mom for what's out there. It's
Makes no
like
sense.
some spans are like 6 months on like 0 to 6 month bottle. It's like, what?
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, like, that's the reason why I think Dr. Brown's end up being the most recommended for, like newborn, preterm, all those things, and having that flow, especially for breastfeeding moms, because they narrowed it down so much, because they made that flow be a little bit more spread out. I mean, like, close together than spread out so far.
Right.
So I think this will do. I think that was like, I think it's phenomenal. I mean, I've said that a lot, but I really think that was one of the biggest highlights, is when I'm like, oh, I'm getting a bottle that's matching the flow of a 7 to 9 months. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and, like, I was super surprised because, like, there's other studies published, like, specifically in the NICU with Dr. Brown's, and, like, I mean, we studied the flow rate of those bottles ourselves at different, like, negative sucking pressures, and
I'll be ready to go
still,
in a
it
minute.
just comes out, like, way faster than a preterm infant should get, so I'm super excited when we do our NICU study as well, because like
Where's what? I don't know. Granny has one. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, you're good. Well, that was everything that I needed to assess. Don't hesitate to reach out if anything comes up. And thank you so much for letting me actually like record this and share it. That's really, really,
No problem. And I have, that may be something you want to consider,
yeah.
because it made me think about it when I was thinking about the baby that is my client right now.
Mhm.
He had a lot of mouth issues as well. He had double ties, severe latching issues, cried on mom's breast, all the things, like screamed bloody murder on mom's breast.
Oh gosh.
She had a fast flow, so it wasn't even just milk flow or frustration. It was other things. He did Cairo, SLP, everything you could think of. I mean,
Yeah.
they made it, but they've gone through so many different bottles, yada yada yada. But one thing is that he would not take a Soothie shaped pacifier. So the straight nipple, just like that bottle, he wouldn't take it. He took Dr. Brown's bottles. They eventually switched him to Even Flow, which helped a lot more for their situation. But the only pacifier he would take was the Bibs pacifier with the big bulb on the end. And
Mhm.
that's because they found out he had a dramatically high palate, which I've looked in his mouth. It's way up there more than normal.
So he
And
needs like
so
actually
that
the larger nipple compared to like what his mom's breast actually is like.
Exactly. And that was one of their biggest struggles. And I was like, between latch matching and potentially in the future considering conditions like that with
Yeah.
ties, high palates, and all that, that could be something else that adds to the kind of game changing factor. And that's something that's very, very common in an issue with breastfeeding moms.
Oh my god,
Just a thought.
that is such valuable feedback. So maybe then the Latch Match survey should contain some of like the triage questions, like has your baby ever been assessed for like tongue tie or high palate? And then we could actually do a consult call first to make sure like
More of people like me who've done like newborn care, sleep training, all that stuff in the beginning where they actually know, hear, and see all of the problems that present themselves upon birth. Because that's where you're going to find, like, because I know that, like, from birth, I knew those things. It wasn't hard for me to pinpoint, but it's hard
Yeah.
for a lot of moms to pinpoint. And when they do pinpoint it, if those things were known in latch matching, like knowing that, okay, based on your flow, like you have a slow flow, takes you 3 to 5 minutes to trigger a letdown, or you have a fast flow, you get an immediate letdown, or how long does it take for you to reach your next letdown? Stuff like that could help in the latch matching process, because just because a baby is, 3 to 6 months, they might still need the 0 to 3 months flow based on the mother's flow
Yeah. Oh
at
my
the
gosh.
time, and like, I'm like, that's something that a lot of stuff that people don't talk about, but
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that people actually working during those newborn times, newborn care specialists, lactation consultants and such, like, see every day. Like, it's so common, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
between the high palate, all the tie issues, all that, I would highly suggest kind of factoring some of that in and making it in there, because a lot of moms who are dealing with breastfeeding struggles are also dealing with those struggles as well. And they're usually a lot of reason why they're having so much trouble going from breastfeeding to nipple
Oh my
on the
God.
bottle, I mean.
That is like actually $1 million advice and feedback. So what I'll do is I'll follow up with you and like create some questions, because one, I don't want it to be so burdensome, like for them to get through, because a lot of women I see drop off at actually measuring their nipple. So I'm trying to figure out a way to make that just easier. Like,
Once you have enough word of mouth behind you,
mhm.
you won't have to worry about that. Because someone like me who knows those issues and say this and knows what a bottle like that could do to change that, and then once you have the recommendations and mothers behind you to say, this is worth it, do this was tremendously helpful, the questionnaire won't matter.
Okay.
Because it's important, that's like important things in why it should work, like, that's a big factor in why am I having these struggles and why does this fix that, in
Yeah.
knowing that information, because that could be the biggest difference in, well, this worked for me or it didn't, because I have this struggles, and because I was able to be properly matched the right way based on the struggles that I have, this is
Yeah.
why that worked for me. Like, because I think the survey was the best part. Like, I'm like, this is so awesome. She's literally asking me, what is my nipple like, and trying to match it directly to what this nipple is like, so that she has an easier transition, which overall makes it easier on me.
Yeah.
Like, so the more you have to say that, with this questionnaire was so in depth, it was so great, it matched me perfectly, that'll be the least of your worries.
Okay. That's good
Yeah,
feedback.
like, that'll be, I would not be concerned about that, because as long as you have the word of mouth behind your name, I think that people can get past that. It's like, if you want this to work for you, we need this information. That's like, because you can use it. It's like going to the doctor and telling them you're not going to give them your background. How can they
Yeah.
help
Like,
you?
how can they help you? Okay.
It can't. They can't do anything for you without knowing those things. So it's important. And I think that over time, it will do what it needs to do.
Thank you for that advice. If you're okay with
Oh,
it,
yeah.
I'll just shoot you over the questions and make sure, like, from your perspective as a mom, that the wording like makes sense. And what's your background, by the way, Brooklyn?
So I've been a nanny for over 10 years,
Mhm.
and a newborn care specialist, certified for about 6 years. And so I do a lot of like sleep training and newborn care. I work with moms while they're pregnant, when they have the baby in the beginning, help them through those times, all of that. So that's why I end up working with a lot of moms. I know a lot of moms here. I own a babysitting service here. Um, and even with my sleep training, I'm there with them in the beginning, guiding them through, and which we talk about feeding a lot, because feeding and making sure they're getting the proper amount of ounces in a 24-hour span is what plays a direct hand into sleep training. So
Yeah.
making sure they're developmentally where they need to be. So that's why I've ended up having this conversation multiple times and over again about talking about how are they eating? How is this going? Let's work out these issues, because even the client I'm with right now, the baby couldn't sleep properly properly until he was eating properly. So we had to spend months regulating his eating and
Yeah.
getting him to a point, because he's a tank. He's starving significantly, game changing. Just like, so I think it's important, all the things you asked, and I'll happily assist in any way to help out, because I really
Awesome.
feel like this could just turn things around for the better as far as that transition from breast to bottle.
Thank you so much for the feedback, and I'll follow up with you on Monday. Thanks for taking time also
Okay.
out of your Saturday to chat with me.
No
You
problem.
have my email. Like, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. And this was super helpful for me. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Have a great rest of your weekend, Brooklyn.
You as well. Talk soon. Bye bye.
Talk soon. Bye.